Hi. There are a bunch of behaviors and traits that we reward in our society that we really shouldn't be rewarding. Things that are glorified on a level of like, yeah, you're going through this hardship. That's awesome. And it's weird. And I don't understand why we do it. I want to talk about sort of the top five that I see almost every day being glorified. We need to stop glorifying them. The first one is working too long, working too many hours in a week, and taking work home with you. How many people experience that with their jobs? And taking work home doesn't mean you have a file in your hand and coming home and doing work at home. That is the case for a lot of people. But it could also mean just coming home with your work on your mind, unable to detach, having a work cell phone that people can reach you on at all hours of the day or until late into the evening, those types of things. Why is that okay? I don't think that that's okay. And I think that this quiet quitting trend is not a bad thing. I think people need to start standing up and saying, look, you pay me for these hours to do this job, and that is the job that I do, and that is the end of that. That's my opinion. As a teacher, that's life. In fact, it's so bad in the teaching profession if you are not a person staying late, going in on weekends, bringing work home with you, planning at home, marking at home. Like, you actually can't even do the basics of your job without bringing your work home. It's impossible. And then on top of that, anyone who does less than killing themselves over their job is considered to not be a good teacher. And I don't understand that culture. It's no different than in the corporate world. If you're going to strive to get to the top, you want to be some CEO or some big shot at the top and make the big bucks. Well, you eventually have to take some sort of management position or do some sort of work where you prove that you don't mind getting paid to be extra stressed and sleep less and work more. And that's just so backwards. Why? Why are we doing that? The second thing that we glorify way too much is being stressed and tired all the time. I see it on social media all the time. Just so exhausted. I'm so tired. Oh, but you're working so hard. You're doing so good. Keep going. No, you don't have to work that hard to be successful. You don't need to be deprived of sleep and be like riddled with anxiety to be successful. That's not how that needs to look. And somehow we've created this idea that that is what success looks like. So kind of tied to the first one, but we need to change how we're working and how we're showing up or not showing up in our jobs because we're strapped so thin. The third thing I notice is this glorification or celebration around avoiding self-care to be the best or a good mom, dad, employee, friend, son, daughter, carer, whatever, insert role here. Self-care is the most important thing for anyone in any role. If you're not looking after yourself, how can you possibly be there for the other people around you? So, avoiding sleep or missing showers or whatever that looks like in your world, avoiding those self-care things and not having me time because you're too busy as a mom or you're too busy as an employee or an entrepreneur, whatever the case might be, that's going to have consequences later on down the road. You can't sacrifice yourself and the love for yourself and then end up okay at the end of the day when you've been doing everything for everyone else. Now, I know logistically there's another conversation to be had around single parenting and certain roles, certain jobs where as an employee you don't really have a choice, like teaching. So I understand that it's not just as simple as saying, nope, I'm going to have a shower. This infant can wait over here. I understand that that's not reality. But can we do better for each other? How can we shift some things in this world so that moms can have a shower? So that, maybe a nap can be taken when needed, regardless of role. Self-care is so important and we need to start prioritizing it. We need to honor that in other people and we need to honor what that looks like individually for people because it's different for everybody. But it's so important. And the more we deprive ourselves of that, the farther we get away from ourselves, the more disconnected we become from ourselves. And that's not healthy or okay. You should be living in yourself every day, loving yourself, loving your purpose, loving your gifts, and then being able to be rested and rejuvenated enough to be able to give those back, bring them to the table, and celebrate together and honor each other. I think there's a little bit of shifting we can do to support each other with self-care more. And stop calling it a fad word, because it's trendy, but it's trendy for a reason, because we're noticing the toxicity in a culture where self-care was not even talked about for so long. And maybe it's over talked about now, but there's a reason why it's being discussed at the level that it is, because it's important and we need to do it. The fourth one is like treating other people in relationship like they're the latest Netflix show that you're binging. It is so sick what our dating culture is like, or relationship culture, I should say. It's not just dating. People are in full-on relationships, living with their partner like it doesn't, like life is just a surface thing. I saw a meme last week and it said something about how the perfect, wasn't worded this way, but like how the perfect relationship is just us sitting at opposite ends of the couch on our screens till we decide to take our sleep meds and go to bed. And I was like, okay, why is that being normalized? That's not healthy. But in the 10 years or so that I was single and dating and trying to figure out that whole culture in life, that was one thing that I noticed was people are quick to move on. If you're not checking every box on their list right off the first date, then they don't want to have anything to do with you. Or people will get involved with people, but then have zero tolerance for their shortcomings and the fact that they're humans as well. And it's sort of this double standard, like they can treat people a certain way, but they don't want to be treated a certain way. And so then it's just goodbye, wash my hands of that, moving on. And I learned to harden myself through that, because the rejection is so fierce in that world where you go on, like when I first was online dating, it was so discouraging. It was like date after date of like not even wanting a second date. And to be fair, I hadn't stepped into myself fully yet, so my confidence definitely would have been lacking, and maybe it was just the case that I was not an appealing second date, but it took me down a couple pegs. And then over the years, as I grew into myself, I come back to online dating. I'd try it for a bit. I'd usually run up against similar challenges. Maybe I'd get a few more dates in. I even got to a point where I got a couple of relationships out of it. They weren't anything close to what they should have been for me. And I just feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that we're online dating, which I appreciate the reasons why, and that's the reality of our dating world. But it's always been a struggle for me, because I don't feel like that's a natural way to meet and connect with people. And so you spend a certain degree of time chatting or texting, then you meet for the first time, and maybe what you thought was there isn't there. The energy that you thought would be there isn't there. The attraction isn't there. And so it becomes sort of it's a bigger job, I think, than it needs to be. Whereas if you were out in the world and meeting people, you wouldn't even ask for a date from someone unless you knew that there was a connection or attraction there. It's just so different the way we're dating now. But treating people like, I'll watch an episode of this Netflix show, I might not like it, and then I'm going to move on to the next thing. It's so impermanent. On the flip side, what's the alternative? Then you have people also that are staying together when maybe they shouldn't be. People that are living unhappy and they know they are, and they're not sure what to do or how to get out. I don't know what the answers are. It's a tricky situation. But I do know that we need to come at love better. We can do better at how we approach each other and handle each other and celebrate each other, and maybe be a little more caring in how we discard each other, because even the word discard sounds hurtful. Like, we're just not very good at looking after each other right now, or ourselves, and we need to get better. Now, the fifth one is not a very popular opinion, but it's all this need to celebrate, commiserate, take the edge off, because it's Friday, because I can, again, insert reason here, but the reasons why we drink. we have this glorified culture of alcohol, and it's weird. And I mean, I was there. Tell me, as a teacher, I would come home and have a drink a lot, almost every day, some years, because it was a tough year or whatever the reason was, always around taking the edge off. But I've also watched people lose people that are close to them, and the first thing they do is go get a bottle. And that's taking you in the opposite direction that you need to be going in that moment. I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating something with a glass of wine or having a couple of drinks at a wedding, or I don't know, whatever. I'm not saying we should never have a drop of alcohol, but the level that it's glorified on, it's not even that it's glorified. It is definitely glorified, but it's just so commonly accepted as something you do every day. And so I've just been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, I haven't been interested in having a drink lately, and that's just been my personal choice as I'm going through my own growth. But I started like learning and thinking about what it's actually doing to us. So when we drink, it affects our mind, our body, and our soul. It affects us on all three levels, and pretty profoundly, really. When you think about having a drink and what it does to you cognitively, like it makes things fuzzy, and it affects our judgment, and it alters our behaviors, and it removes inhibitions. Physically, it can cause inflammation in the body. It impacts other organs and systems like the liver and the blood system, your immune system, your nervous system. And it destroys our capacity to create and hold a spiritual connection. So it lowers our vibration of our auras, of our chakras. It diminishes can weaken our aura, and it throws our chakras out of balance. So what I read about was when we drink, it opens our 7th chakra. And it opens so wide and allows for other lower vibrational entities to enter. And that kind of made sense to me, because I started thinking about, when you're at a party or you're at a bar or something, you see someone just out of their mind, obliterated. And even someone you can see that that's not them. That's not what they're normally like. In fact, it's almost like they're a different person when they're that drunk. Or you notice or have heard stories, or maybe you've experienced blacking out when you're drinking. And that's because that's your spirit going, I don't want to be in this drunk body right now. I can't do a darn thing with it. We can't drive. We can't walk. We can't talk. I'm out. And then because your crown chakra is open, that allows for other things to come in and mess with things. I don't know. Seems like a bad idea to me, but that's just my opinion. I also learned that alcohol in Sanskrit is, my mistake. Arabic means body-eating spirit or demon. That's the definition for alcohol. And it's about how it extracts the soul and invites in low-frequency entities. And this is something that's been known for a long time, but it's never, at least in our Western culture, never put in those contexts. It's totally okay. Have a drink. Take the edge off. Yay, it's Friday. Let's party. Why? What else can you do to celebrate the fact that it's Friday? How about a little self-care routine? How about spending some quality time with the person that you love? There's lots of ways that we can go about navigating our world without including all of these toxic traits into it and glorifying the overworked, underslept, overstressed body that then needs to drink alcohol to feel like they're doing the right thing or that they're okay because it's taking the edge off. It's keeping us in a toxic space, and we need to find better ways to support each other and do better. My opinion. Take it or leave it. But I love you all, and I want you to live long, happy, healthy lives. So I thought I would share some of those things that I'm seeing. And if you have some great ideas on how we can make those shifts, how we can support each other better, I would love to hear it. Leave a comment and have a wonderful day.